All right, so welcome to 601. The course shell and everything should be up and going now. We'll just kind of review some links here getting started. For the syllabus side of things, this should be updated out here. If anybody has any questions or concerns in there, let me know. If you guys need my office, it's just down the hallway there. This is kind of a layout of everything that we're going to be doing in the semester. In week one here, the goal is just that you guys go get all the software that we're going to be utilizing, make sure you have the GitHub account, et cetera. We'll cover that here today. As I mentioned a little bit on Tuesday, but for the recording, you guys will have 4 main mini projects that you'll work through. So we'll talk about a couple topics like NumPy, SciPy. You guys will have a mini project with that and a quiz, same way with Pandas. And then you'll have another one with Flask and Django down below here. All right. Well, there'll be a quasi mini project here with Streamlit, but you guys don't have to turn anything in during that week. It's just following along as you go. There'll be a section here with ChatGPT or other AI LLMs. I'll work with you guys a little bit on. In this class, what's different than the 360 class is I encourage you guys to use those as tools in the class. You'll find out that you can't necessarily have it write the entire thing because while the new ones are pretty darn close to being able to do that, what's really nice about it is helping you get the framework laid out. So you have a concept, you have an idea, you just don't know how to get started on what you want to do. Use this to get you a step-by-step helpful overview of what you want. And then from there, you guys can start doing your coding and adding the extra projects, stuff like that. So I encourage you to do that. That's the only way programmers survive these days. And then down below, you guys will have one big final project that'll cover from week 12 all the way through week 16. So every day we will meet on like Tuesdays once we get to that, if you guys are here and you need to meet during that. But the goal is like week 1, we'll talk about your outline if you need any help. Week 2, if you guys are, this is more of, in other words, this schedule down here is more of for you guys to make sure you're staying on task, right? More than likely, you'll be doing even this last kind of stuff earlier in there. If you already have your concept and your API picked out from earlier projects, you can absolutely do that. So like I mentioned, Tuesday is you can use, for example, mini project 3 or mini project 4 as your final project. You're just extending it into the requirements of the final project. When it comes to the final project, you guys will have specific requirements. So for example, if you're a cyber student, you need to do something cyber related. If you're a comp sci student, it's a little more generic because it's a much broader horizon in there. So as long as it fits within the realm of whatever concentration you're coming in, I'm good with it. For you guys that are different, meaning that you are undergrad versus grad, has different requirements in there as well. And so we'll cover all that when we get closer to the final, but just kind of as a heads up from here. Let's see here, grade wise, let's see here. There's different between the undergrad and grad, mostly because the grad has a little heavier emphasis on a couple places, but for the most part, you should see everything the same. So every module quiz, those are worth 20%. Your mini projects are worth 30. The midterm exam is worth 20. And then your final project is worth 30. All right. You have lots of time to work on the stuff in this class. I will give you rough due dates in Blackboard as we start going along. Just know that I give you guys some flexibility on those due dates. Like I don't say it's only at Friday at 5, and if you don't have it in, you get a 0. I tend to give more flexibility than I should, which means in return, hopefully you guys are flexible when it comes time to get them graded, right? In other words, if I gave you an extension, don't expect it to be graded right away. Like give me some chance to come back in after I've graded everybody else's. All right. You guys have any questions on that side? I know a lot of that we covered on Tuesday, but want to get it in the recording. For you guys, there's a live Zoom meeting link out there. So because the on-campus class here is at 1:30, you're welcome to join the Zoom. If any of you in here are sick, please don't show up. All right. I have a 10-month-old. I really don't want my daughter to get sick. So I strongly encourage you guys to jump in the Zoom that day. If just not feeling well in general, just jump in the Zoom. I'm okay with that. You can shoot me an email, let me know. That way I have an idea of what's going on kind of thing, but please don't come sick. All right. All of those are not only live, they're recorded, which goes to the next part of this. There's a YouTube playlist out here, so you can go out to this one. If you choose to do so, you can subscribe to it so you get notifications when the next one's been uploaded. I'm not trying to become a YouTube star, so you don't have to like videos, you don't have to do any of that kind of stuff, but there's plenty out there. There is old playlists out there from old semesters, and I encourage you guys to go look at some of that stuff. Just notice that anything that I talk about this year is obviously going to take precedence over an older video, right? So there's going to be some things that we're going to do differently, especially when it comes to the AI side of things, because what we did 2 and 3 years ago is like ancient now. Like there's so much more tools and stuff in there. So use it as a reference if you're stuck, or especially in the homework side of things. You will find out that as long as you guys follow along with the videos, aka you participate in that regard, about 70% to 80% of your mini projects are done. Like I do them along with you in the class. So if you show up, watch the videos, do all that, at least 70% of your mini project will be done during that time, especially for those of you here in the class doing it. As long as you're following along, you have very little to go home and finish before that project's done. All right. Let's see, mini projects. This is what I need from you guys at the top of it. And we'll talk more in depth about the mini projects as we go, what I expect to be turned in, that kind of stuff. But just make sure that you copy and paste this at the start of your main Python files, especially in the first 2 mini projects. Once we get into the frameworks like Django and Streamlit and Flask, I won't require this as much because you're going to have a whole slew of files in there. And then you're like, do I have to put that at the top of every one? No. All right. At that point, this kind of stuff is what should be put into your README in your GitHub repository. And I'm about to cover that here next. So make sure you do this. Make sure all of your projects, when you guys do them on GitHub, have this format. All right. So mini project 1, your name, not Jason Zeller, your name. All right. I do need your full first name and last name in there. All right. We used to do this where it was abbreviated. That didn't work out well when we had a whole bunch of initials that overlapped. So please do it in this format. If you don't, I will take some points away on that because it makes it a really big pain for me to try to check things out and get it graded. It starts clobbering other people's projects, etc. So if you just call it mini project 1 and submit it to me, more than likely 2 people will do that and it will clobber and cause all sorts of issues, which takes more time for me. So lots of points for you. All right. In other words, just follow directions. Very, very, very simple. Cool. Let's see here. As I said in there, most projects I tend to do on Sunday night at midnight. All right. So when I say something's due on that particular time, that's generally my due date is Sunday at midnight. That way you're not trying to clobber it out before Friday. I'm not that guy. I like Sunday at midnight. All right. Let's see here. For the GitHub and the mini projects and such, there'll be more information that'll come in here when we get in. The project name, like I mentioned, please make sure it's in that format. Notice I have to do it twice in here to make sure I can say, look, you saw it twice. In the GitHub README, this just tells you the syntax that you should be using for your README file. It's standard Markdown, GitHub Markdown. So this is just more of a reference for you to be able to fill things out like you're supposed to. There is also a README template in here. And so I expect you on every project of your mini projects, you will copy and paste this into your README and then fill it out the correct way. That make sense? It'll make more sense when we get into the main projects, but I give you a starter template. You're just going to go in and fill it out from there. All right. Which brings us to week 1. So I'm going to stop the recording here for the course overview.